Crazy stuff out of Washington and here in Rhode Island today.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Taco Comfort Solutions.
We're also going to learn about the Maddie Potts Foundation this evening. I had the honor to meet her mom at the Radiothon on WPRO weeks ago, and once I heard the story, I said, you got to come on the TV and tell people about what you're doing. So that comes up here momentarily. Great to have you in. Another summer day, kind of a pre-summer day. Don't get too crazy. A lot of 60s and coming up next week. All we do is note the weather. And go, maybe the winter was just, in the spring, we're just so bad that we just can't shake it, but last couple of days pretty good. The White House, I can't follow this anymore. Maybe you can follow this anymore. I have a funny feeling that most of you are just like, listen, don't tell me anymore. If he's impeached, let me know. You know, just let me know. Otherwise, I don't want to keep score on it. And I understand how you feel about that. I've seen the phone lines on the radio show just kind of fade away on this because it's just so hard to follow. But the latest from Rudy Giuliani jumping into this whole thing now is on, you know, the Stormy Daniels payment. Now it's a brand new concept that the Stormy Daniels situation is perfectly understandable. He talked last night on TV.
Having something to do with paying some Stormy Daniels woman $130,000, I mean, which is going to turn out to be perfectly legal. That money was not campaign money. Sorry, I'm giving you a fact now that you don't know. It's not campaign money. No campaign finance violation. So
they funneled it through the law firm.
Funneled through a law firm, and the president repaid it.
Yeah, but the president up until today didn't know anything about the money. So now the president repaid this, and he's trying to explain it away. And by the way, I don't think anybody suggested that a check was written from the campaign to Stormy Daniels. The check was written by Michael Cohen, who represented that, at least at one point, this is the attorney who's been raided, you know, that this was from his home equity line. I mean, the stories just keep changing, this bread and circus atmosphere where as long as the headlines keep changing, you'll get so dumbed down by it, you can't follow it. I think that's the strategy. But the lawyer for Stormy Daniels here, you know, has been pretty good at just kind of cutting and slicing his way through this.
I think that this shows that the president has significant potential criminal liability for felonies associated with campaign finance violations, as well as potential money laundering violations, as well as potential fraud violations relating to these law firm invoices that we've now heard about.
This guy's got no fear. He's got no fear at all, and I think that's what they fear. Now, Donald Trump today tweeted out this entire discussion of how normal, you people don't understand what it, you know, how rich people deal with their lawyers. That Michael Cohen had a retainer that he was sent, and through that retainer, he, you know, paid Stormy Daniels, so he was paid back through the law firm, as Sean Hannity was talking about there. It was only, you know, a week ago that Donald Trump was denying any knowledge of any transactional issues here. Now he's tweeting out the normal and sundry way that this whole thing was handled. Make of it what you want, but just repeating the facts as they've been presented and the story as it's been presented by the administration is worth it. So you say, oh yeah, that's right. They were saying that. Now they're saying this. And tomorrow, who knows what they're going to say. Here at home, we got a little turbulence in the Republican gubernatorial race. I don't know if it really matters, because I can't figure out, I can't figure out if Giovanni Ferrosi is for real as a candidate or not. It all starts with this headline that ran a couple of days in a row: court orders civil arrest for gubernatorial candidate Ferrosi. Seems that Giovanni Ferrosi, the former Alex Anani star and the executive with Benris, which is, at least at press time, a failed financial escapade, reportedly he has a lot of vendors out there that are owed money. By the way, I was a vendor with my own private company to Benris at one point. I was fully paid. Disclosure. So I have no axe to grind here with Giovanni Ferrosi. But there are large debts and there are miscellaneous debts that are out there in the midst of whatever convoluted legal problem he has with the brand Benris, right? He says that this headline and this story, originally by Amanda Milkovich in the Providence Journal, that suggested that sheriff's officers were literally in pursuit to issue him a civil arrest warrant, is all phony baloney.
About the headline yesterday that she put out there and today, do you even know what this is? What this is a authorization from a judge who can give the plaintiff's attorney the ability, she only has the authority to engage a constable to get what's called a body attachment. Do you realize that that has not even been done?
I didn't realize it. I didn't write the story. That was Feroci with me on the radio yesterday afternoon. But I asked him a very simple question, which is, did you know you owed this vendor $8,000? Did you know you were supposed to be in court? When did you find out about it?
And I'm not claiming for one moment that I shouldn't have been there yesterday. I should have when I read the item now that I know about it. But when something goes into receivership, which Benris did back in December, and there's piles of papers moving, very complex piles, you know, I obviously just thought this was another item in the pile. Like, I would never know about it.
All the details on this story aside, it's just not good for him. It's hard to dig a campaign out of this turmoil perpetually. I think he kind of feels in some way that he's Trumpian in nature, that the more turmoil that surrounds him, the more name recognition he gets. You know, the old just spell it right type of thing. One of his opponents, Patricia Morgan, says it's time to take a rest, Gio.
I think that he has way too many problems to make him a viable candidate for governor. I think he needs to go and straighten out his life and then, you know, rebuild it and maybe come back at another time. But now I don't think is the time for him.
Alan Fung, meanwhile, in a program that we just recorded tonight for tomorrow, because we taped 2 shows on Thursday, says he's just staying out of this. This is nothing that he wants to comment on, which is probably wise for the front runner. In the meantime, late today, Giovanni Feroci started tweeting out, kind of Trumpian in nature. He was sending out stuff like this. This is the copy of a letter that he sent to the Journal back in February of last year, trying to explain to them that they had misrepresented the current status of the Benris litigation. So now he's trying to fight the paper and make the paper the problem. And now the executive editor of the paper, Alan Rosenberg, has put out a statement that says, hey, look, you know, we stand by our reporter 100%. So I don't know if this is kind of a drama in a phone booth in terms of how many people are watching this, or whether this catches fire in the Republican primary. Your guess is as good as mine. In the meantime, speaking about guesses as good as mine, was it not just a couple of 3 days ago that we had Lincoln Chafee here telling us that he was, you know, all ready and raring to go? Yep, he was sitting right here on this set. Well, today he put out a statement that said that he's taking a few more weeks to think about whether he's running for the U.S. Senate. Listen, I don't think anybody's going to lose sleep over having to wait for some kind of formal announcement, but perhaps he went home and maybe his better half said, how come you didn't talk to me about this? Who's writing this check? I don't know. It's just a theory, but very strange, very strange. All right. That's all I got. So the Radiothon the other day raised a good chunk of change, and during it, that was the Cumulus Radiothon, I had the pleasure to meet Stephanie Potts, who has a foundation in her daughter's honor. It's called the Maddie Potts Foundation, simply enough. Welcome to the broadcast. It's nice to have you. Executive summary on this. You lost Maddie last year.
Yep, September 23rd.
And already you're in go mode.
Oh, absolutely. Foundation.
How?
We weren't given another choice. I mean, her death was as acute as it gets. She was playing the soccer game of her life, September 23rd.
For Charahoe?
For Charahoe High School. She was the captain of Charahoe High School soccer, as well as the lacrosse captain. She's a 3-sport athlete. She's never missed a high school game of any kind in 4 years. Healthy, never had any symptoms. I was at work. I'm an emergency medicine physician assistant. I got the call from her coach that Maddie went down in the second half. She was having a seizure, and she had quickly become unresponsive on the field. And fortunately, we had a father who's an intensive care doctor respond to the field. I was obviously called out of work. I met them at First South County Hospital, in which they were trying to stabilize her. We quickly found out she had a bleed in her brain. Didn't know if it was trauma or not yet at that point, even though there wasn't any obvious trauma. We had no other suggestion of a problem until they got the CAT scan, and then we got to Hasbro. And she ultimately died 21 minutes into the next morning.
This is an impossible conversation. I don't know how you do it. Time in, time out. You came to the Hasbro Radiothon because you wanted to support what they do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Even though the outcome was not what anybody wanted.
Absolutely not. We are living every parent's worst nightmare. There is no doubt about that, particularly the shock value of everything. But those people at Hasbro made us feel like we were their family. And Dr. Polikoff, who I was with on the Radiothon, within an hour of meeting us, got down on his hands and knees in the family room and said, "I will treat Maddie like she is my own daughter." And he did just that. I mean, under the very worst of circumstances, if you want to give back to a group of people like that because they made it possible and they gave you all the tools that they could to help you move on, I just feel like instantly we needed to get back to them, and I'm glad that the Radiothon was such a success.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about what the foundation is doing, because that's the future of this. Stay with us. And this is how folks are reacting to Maddie's story.
We're gonna have fun? Yes. Everyone know their songs?
Yes.
All right, good stuff.
Maddie Potts' mom surrounded by her daughter's friends before heading off to the Imagine Dragons concert at Mohegan Sun.
I just know that she's going to be up there watching the concert for herself, so she's going to see how amazing it is.
The band was one of number 11's favorite groups. Maddie's mom, Stephanie, says many of the group's songs reminded her of her daughter. Back in October, she reached out to the group on Twitter after the 17-year-old's tragic death. Now, the band and resort are teaming up to bring teammates, friends, and others to the concert, and they'll get to meet the band.
We know how much she loved them and how much we loved them too, so just the fact that they did this was awesome.
Over the summer, the Husick twins first thought of going to the concert with Maddie, and now it's turned into this. Nearly 50 friends, family members, and teammates loading onto the bus for an unforgettable night.
Every time I hear Imagine Dragons now, I think of Maddie, and it just makes me smile.
With those smiles, they say there will likely be tears and more hugs. But right now, Maddie's mom says this is what her daughter would have wanted. On the sign they drove by heading to Connecticut, Maddie Potts, Forever 11.
We wish Maddie was here, and the whole reason that any of us are here is because Maddie wanted to see the band. But from all we know, it's probably her way of kind of thanking the rest of us for staying so involved and getting through a soccer season.
That was a nice project.
That was beautiful. They were amazing. I mean, everyone, they rallied together and gave so much to us, and the team so needed that after such a tragedy that literally unraveled right in front of them.
What makes, I know you don't want to make this about you, I just know it, but what makes you able to lead like this?
I think two things. One, as we talked about at the Radiothon, I'm an emergency medicine PA, and I think that job and that profession just somehow teaches you, for lack of a better word, to kind of compartmentalize and separate yourself from the emotions when you can. Certainly is not a good comparison, but in a way has allowed me to do that. I'll cry the whole way home, but it allows me to focus, and I think she deserves that. I mean, she deserves for all of us to remember her the way she was and the way she lived her life. And I think the other thing that helps is this isn't our first loss. It's certainly our most significant, but like any other type of training, it teaches you that there's going to be awful days and there's going to be days that you just don't even want to survive, but you do, and you realize that there will be at least a little better day ahead.
What do you mean it's not your first loss?
My best friend was killed 16 years ago. She was in a crosswalk, hit by a car, pregnant with her 5th child, and I thought that was the very worst tragedy that someone could live through. But I saw how strong her husband and her kids and her family were, and her husband is the first person, the only person we called from Hasbro and asked to come be with us the night that Maddie died, because if he can get through that, then we can get through this, and we just all have to do it together.
People don't know how to watch this, you know. They don't know how to watch this. I've been doing interviews for 35 years, and I still don't know what to say, what to ask. I just don't know. What are we supposed to do? How is people supposed to react to your strength and this story and your daughter's vibrant life cut so short for reasons that we don't know why? What are we supposed to do?
Well, I like to say that I don't have a reason for why this happened. I don't know that we'll ever have a reason, but from that moment at Hasbro, when our entire world was just taken out from under us, I said that I will find a purpose for this. And about...
In that moment?
In that moment at Hasbro. And the way it played out and the way everyone that was involved that night and the fact that it happened. Maddie was 17 years and 5 months old and 12 days. She could have had this aneurysm that entire time. We don't know. So the fact that it happened in a game at home with her dad filming it, because we were getting college videos together, in front of everybody when she's about to go out and take a free kick, I mean, all eyes were on her, and it happened at that moment. And from that night, we said that had to have happened for a reason at that time. Maddie was driving her younger sister down the highway and her best friend 4 hours before that game. When people say it doesn't get any worse, it could have been a lot worse. And I could have lost both of my kids, and that's not something you ever come back from. And I don't know that we can come back from this, but we're going to do everything possible to try. And I think the reason that my husband and I were able to walk out of Hasbro that night was because of Julia, because Maddie would want us to do that for her and for her team and for her friends.
We'll talk about the foundation when we come back. What's the purpose of the foundation? What are we trying to accomplish? Obviously, you're going to need some resources, and please go to foxprovidence.com where we link to the Maddie Potts Foundation. There are events, and you'll be back in months and years, and you're always going to be welcome if you need some publicity for the stuff that you're doing. And hopefully, it's going to get better. But what is the mission of the foundation?
What would Maddie do? And I went out for a run about 10 days after she died and put on her soccer warm-up playlist, and I listened to those songs, and I thought, what would Maddie do? And I just, kind of turned it into a hashtag, because she lived her life the way all of us should live our life, really, for every day, for every moment. She reached out to people that couldn't reach out for themselves. She was kind, compassionate. She didn't judge people. She just worked hard and persevered, and we all need to be like that, like Maddie. And it's that much more of a tragedy that someone so good and pure and giving was taken from us. So our message is to stop and think, like, we can all be more like that. We may not be better athletes, we may not be better artists, but we can all be better people. So short-term goals, we're trying to give back immediately to her graduating class of 2018 with a number of $1,100 scholarships. Those are already set up. And long-term, we desperately need some facilities at Cheraho. Maddie was all about team building and practice, so we'd like to start an indoor practice facility at some point. Personally, I took great offense to some of the costs that are associated with burying your child, particularly when it's that acute. And at some point, I would like to discuss with whomever I need to about offsetting costs for parents who have to bury their child under the age of 18, particularly single moms, people that don't have resources in a community like we did. So a lot of those things. We're going to do that by a number of fundraisers. We have particularly the Maddie Potts Fitness Challenge, which is August 11th at the University of Rhode Island. Hoping to get 1,100 athletes at least through a workout to raise money for the foundation.
I'm sure the high school community will
oh, yeah.
will come running for
Absolutely.
that, right?
Absolutely. The amount of community support is remarkable.
Well, the amazing thing is that you're still in the first year.
Yes.
So this thing, I'm sure, will blossom. It's a work in progress. That you were able to say, I'm going to do something like this so soon is, I think, of all the stories we've heard here from time to time, I think it's rare, it's heroic, and it's just starting.
Right.
So who knows where you'll be with this thing?
Absolutely.
2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Absolutely.
But you're committed. We only have a minute here. You're committed to what concept with the Maddie Potts Foundation?
What would Maddie do? Literally is our hashtag. And all you have to do is read the tributes, read the story. She's a 17-year-old girl that lived her life, like I said, the way we all should. Be kind, be compassionate, work hard. Don't expect things for nothing. Work for them. Set your goals high. And then settle somewhere in between. Don't look at just yourself. Look at your community and the people around you and how you can make them better. And that's really what she did every day without anyone telling her to or asking her to do otherwise.
All right. foxprovidence.com, and of course you have your own website, I'm sure.
Yep. MaddiePottsFoundation.org.
That's easy enough. MaddiePottsFoundation.org. Either one of those things. Link in, get involved, send a check. Whatever it is, volunteer, be part of the crowd, join the fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Join the fun.
We're celebrating this somehow.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Hang in there. Do what you should or want to. You know what you have to do. We'll be right back. Coming up on the Friday program, Alan Fung, lead gubernatorial candidate on the Republican side, will come in. He's bulldozing Smith Hill, he says. They all work on the cliches, don't they? Again, check out the MaddiePottsFoundation.org or go to our website, foxprovidence.com, to link in. There's a story to be told there, but I don't think it's near beginning to be written. Have a great Thursday night. See you tomorrow. And on the radio at 3 on WPRO. Thanks for watching. Good night.